Good evening, everyone. This is Monica. I work at Booklyn. I'll be your host tonight for my favorite book. Just checking to make sure our technology is working. It is right on time. All right, you're watching episode 16 of My Favorite Book. This is an original program of Booklyn Inc. And tonight we are going to hear from Sophia Zamosi, one of our favorite people in the whole world, who is going to present the favorite book that they've ever made. Before I get started, as usual, I would like to acknowledge that the land from which we're broadcasting is part of the traditional territory of the Lenni Lenape people. Please join us in acknowledging the Lenape community, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. About Booklyn Inc. We're a nonprofit organization located in Brooklyn, New York. We are celebrating 22 years of promoting artist books as art and primary research materials and tools for social justice. We distribute work by artists and organizations within the academic market. We host workshops and exhibitions, and we publish books and archival box sets. We are super excited to be doing our first serialized online program, My Favorite Book. This is a program where we ask 18 different artists to quickly tell us about their favorite book they've ever made. Wait a minute, did I say episode 16? I did. This is episode 17. Okay, because tomorrow's the last one, it's 18. Okay, correction. So every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday throughout this month of June, we will have an episode for you from 7 to 7:30, but that just means 7 o'clock tonight and 7 o'clock tomorrow, and then we're done. You can check our website for a full schedule, and through those links, you can actually watch all the videos that we've done so far. And for more information, you can check out our website, which is booklyn.org, or you can follow us at Booklyn Art on Instagram or any social media platform that we use. And on Linktree/Booklyn, there are tons of fun links. Least of all is our free education manual. Highly recommend that. Okay, so before we bring on Sophia, I actually have some thoughts that I just wanted to share because I feel so overwhelmingly grateful for this program and what it's really provided, not only for Booklyn staff and family, community, but the artists within that. And part of that is just acknowledging that over the last year, our values have shifted for some of us very greatly and some of us very slightly. And if they haven't necessarily shifted, then we've shifted our way of choosing to bring those values into professional or public spaces. And so we wanted to do this program as an informal, conversational way to revise ourselves and sort of reintroduce ourselves to each other. So part of that is, Booklyn reintroducing ourselves to you, kind of the general public or specific public, people who know us, after, the long absence that we've all kind of endured in different ways, to reconnect with the artists, to hear from them. Just because the way that we talk about or share what we do in the world is really important. And for each of us, it's our own to undertake the way that we choose to do that. And that's going to look different for everybody that makes the choice to share those things. So this is just me on behalf of Booklyn, thanking everybody for showing up and sharing what they do and telling us why they love it, why they nurture what they do into the form of a book. Thank you. Okay. So tonight, now we're going to talk about Sophia Zamosi, who is going to present the book Spitwell. I can't wait. After I read a brief bio, I'm going to hand it over to Sophia. She's going to talk for about 15 minutes, and then we'll do a Q&A through the YouTube chat. So questions or comments, put them there. I will channel them to Sophia, and that's basically what we're going to do. So here's Sophia. Sophia Zamosi is an author and illustrator who makes graphic novels, zines, and artist books. A number of university libraries have added Sophia's work to their collections, and her fine art has been shown in group and solo exhibitions in New York City, Chicago, and Detroit. Her illustrations have been featured in publications such as Loose Threads, Sleek Magazine, and Vice. She received her BA with honors from NYU's Gallatin School for Individual Study in 2017. She's the illustrator for Whole Girl by Sadie Radinsky, and is the author and illustrator of Unretouchable, a graphic novel that's forthcoming in the fall of 2022. Originally from New York City, she now lives in Western Massachusetts with her husband and one-year-old daughter, who I hope we will see tonight. Hi, Sophia. How are you doing tonight?
Hi, how are you? I'm wonderful.
I'm great. I'm going to hand it over to you, and you let me know when you're ready for me to bring on your slideshow, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Hi. Yeah, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And I think we can just jump right into the slideshow. Oh yeah, okay. So, hello. Like Monica just said, my name is Sophia Samosi. I grew up in New York City, and I make books. I always loved making books as a little kid, and I started making zines and painted artist books in 2016. And some of the images here are some of those early painted books that I made by painting on little moleskins. I like making books because it is very satisfying to collect things and put them in order. Finding a book makes its contents feel very official and real. And I like making books about things that people don't usually talk about out loud. And all of these images are from some of my painted books and zines. This book here is the first screen printed artist book I made, Me Too, on Instagram 1 year later. It's a collection of drawings of, oh my God, my baby is hijacking my presentation here. Do you want to take that? So it's a screen printed artist book of drawings of Instagram posts with the hashtag #MeToo. And on the right are some of my box sets of zines. So my social media box set is a collection of 6 zines of social media commentary and criticism in a hand painted box. And the everything set is a collection of every zine I've ever made in a hand painted box, an edition of 10. My first full-length graphic novel, Unretouchable, is going to be coming out next year, and that's actually was inspired by a zine, one of my first zines that I made in 2016. So it's been really cool to watch it sort of evolve into an actual graphic novel. So Spitwall. Today I'm going to talk about my 2018 book, Spitwall, which is something I've been working with again for a new project, a graphic memoir about being sent away as a teenager to treatment centers for troubled teens, which is not the same as the graphic novel I was just talking about. Okay, so Spitwall. For Simone and Holly, I'm sorry. When I was a teenager, I had a spitwall. What is a spitwall, you ask? Well, let me tell you. A spitwall is a wall in your bedroom where you spit. It is a wall specifically designated for spitting. Spitting big spits, little spits, hairballs, and loogies. I hate that word. Let me paint you a picture. I am a 15-year-old chain smoker. Camels, Turkish Royal. This is my bedroom. I keep the AC blasting at a steady 68 degrees, no more, no less. You will likely find me painting naked at 4 a.m. while chatting on AIM and watching Law & Order Special Victims Unit. Dreaming of turning 18 and blowing this pop stand. The carpet is blue, but I haven't seen it in years, as it is littered with impassioned projects and half-finished games of dress-up. Every second step, you stub your heel on a lipstick cap. Or a hungry Tamagotchi. The bedroom door is aching at the hinges from countless slams. Corner to corner, accosted, with pictures, postcards, and stickers, ticket stubs and remnants of lost loves, stuck up with chewing gum. The ceiling is stucco and covered in offensive song lyrics painted in big block letters. I don't dare repeat. More lyrics line the molding and window shades. which always, always remain down. My closet is a fort with Christmas lights and pillows and a slanty ceiling, reserved exclusively for kissing practice and secret telling, and the occasional regrettable hotbox. My 2 pet rats, Marlboro and Antoinette, gnaw relentlessly at the number 2 pencil. I jammed between the spokes of their rusty wheel to keep it from squeaking all night long. So there we have it. The entire room, wall to wall. I've taken you through every nook and cranny. The dirty underwear and the scandalous signage. The jar of gemstones and the pining poetry. The stolen mother's makeup and the possible cat. And the part of the wall closest to the door, next to the defaced Red Hot Chili Peppers poster and the big gold lamp. The part of the wall that still glistens in my memory, ever moist with layer upon layer of my very own DNA. The end. Epilogue. After numerous desperate requests from the author's mother to clean the goddamn spit wall, it was at last approached with a rag and soapy water. However, by that point, the spit had hardened, fusing into the wall itself, and was in the end just painted over white like the rest of the room. Me and spit. So a little background. When I was little, spitting always seemed like a very assertive, manly thing to do. You know, cowboys spit. Leo taught Rose how to spit like a man in Titanic. And that's my dog. And more on a more personal level, my dad has always been a really heavy spitter, and I always found it really disgusting and embarrassing. And once, I kid you not, he spit on the floor inside the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So definitely a lot to unpack there. So the psychological stuff, I feel that this book sort of creates a link between spitting and self-expression. So I'm both expressing myself and substances, taking stuff from the inside and putting it on the outside, and pushing the edges of what's appropriate, including what's appropriate for a girl. And so I think, you know, spitting was maybe a way for me to protest, a way for me to feel I had some agency, especially after being sent away. You know, that's when I started the spit wall, a way to maybe feel close to my disgusting father, or perhaps I was just very lazy and gross. My motivation for creating this book, I decided I wanted to make this book because I realized that this spit wall anecdote was very charged for me. Every time it would come up, I would feel really mortified and embarrassed. And then I started to notice that every time I did tell the story, people would laugh. And the more I talked about it, the less embarrassing it felt. And the process, I wrote the text very quickly in a burst of inspiration. And the first edition is what I just shared with you. And that was a hand-painted book that I created by painting and collaging over an old picture book about colonial homemaking. And then I decided I wanted to make more editions. So I decided to make a screen printed edition. I scanned each page of that original book, and then I digitally redrew each image and created layers for each color. And then my screen printer friend, Lorelei Grossman, created screens out of each layer and printed the new editions at the Shoestring Press in Brooklyn. Here's a picture of her in that process. I decided to add clear spit streaks on the front cover using shiny clear ink. And I bound the books using a pamphlet stitch. So final thoughts. I wanted to talk about this book because, like I said before, it helped sow the seed for my current project, which is a graphic memoir about my adolescence and experiences in the troubled teen industry, which will be coming out in 2023. And here on the right is an example of some of that artwork. So yeah, I've just been thinking a lot about this book, working with it as I write this graphic memoir. And yeah, thank you. I think that's it.
Hi again.
Hi.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. I don't know if you saw my face the whole time
No,
backstage, but I was cracking up. Yeah, so let me reiterate, anybody watching that wants to put questions or comments in the chat, please do that now. Sophia, you have a virtual hug coming from Alta right now.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so, okay, do you mind, I mean, I'll just do my comments or give my sort of impressions of all the things you said. And there are questions in there somewhere. We'll get to those. I love this book. It is so gross. That is my full quote. Because it just pulls out so much, so many, like, without you depicting the grotesquerie that's in my mind, at least, that I'm projecting onto this book. I have a visceral experience of what I find grotesque. That's just kind of the general, like, bodily emissions, one after the other, like, you know, finding a wad of gum underneath the table or something. So I have some questions about the spit wall, just, and I'm sure most people do when they discover your spit, like, that is a spit wall, that exists. Okay. Do other people have spit walls, or, to your knowledge, are you the only one who's, like, one, had a functional spit wall, or two, use that terminology to describe it?
I have never heard of anyone else describing a spit wall. I feel like it's got to be a thing. I can't believe that mine was the very first one, but I think I may have coined the term.
Okay, great. So we're going to put that in a hashtag somewhere in this video, and maybe the other spitwallers will find you, or we'll put something together. Tiny questions just from reading the book, and also thank you for doing that. I really enjoyed that. What is a hungry Tamagotchi, and what is AIM? Is that like an early messaging platform?
Yeah, AOL Instant Messenger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and hungry Tamagotchis were like those 90s toys. It was like a keychain, a little electronic animal lived inside this little keychain, and you had to, like, feed it and take care of it, or else it would die.
I missed that. Can you date this moment too? So you said AIM, so I know that exists, what, early aughts?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
It's about, yeah, early.
Okay. Cool. All right. And then how old were you when you wrote that first book that I assume is a unique book?
Yeah, the first painted book that was created in 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you were not writing that from the perspective of the 15-year-old chain smoker, but sort of recounting it.
Exactly.
That experience. Okay. I was curious. I couldn't, it's like, what a 15-year-old chain smoker, is that what you were painting? Did you have your own insight that you were, like, actively making a spit wall while you were doing it?
Yeah. I wanted to sort of create the feeling of my own voice as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is sort of what I'm also doing now with my graphic memoir.
Is that the Unretouchable?
Unretouchable is the graphic novel, and then the graphic memoir, which does not have a title yet, is going to be my experiences as a teenager. Actually, both are coming from teenage voices. So, but they are, yeah. One is my story.
Maybe you can call it Spitwall.
That's a good idea.
Let's see. I just was, like, writing a flurry of things down. I just had a thought that's totally unprocessed, but when you were reading the book, I think I try to put myself in the position of the person who's authoring, and, like, why would you do, like, a spit wall? Like, what does that do for you? And you already kind of hit on it, but it feels like there's an immense amount of agency that is in the expression of, like, taking something, like, from inside your body and, like, flinging it out. And that can take many forms. A lot of them I don't really want to bring into our conversation space. But that's what I can kind of feel having been a teenager myself, let alone having identified as a female teenager, like the omission of a body part in contrast to what kind of standardized gender expectations are of like holding it together, keeping everything inside, you know, God forbid you have like a period stain seep out and, you know, gym class or whatever stereotypical scenario, like we're kind of programmed. So I don't know, you have talked about it, but I wondered if you wanted to add anything about how that resonated for you as like a bodily emission that brought some agency to yourself in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. The other thing that this makes me think about is I have another like ongoing project, which is a collection of photos of what I call golden bottles, which is like water bottles filled with piss on the side of the street, which as a New Yorker, I'm sure you're very familiar with. And I've for the last couple of years, I've been collecting photos of golden bottles. And I'm always I feel like there's a sort of similar thing. Like, I mean, obviously, I think most of these are dudes pissing in bottles and leaving them on the street. And the audacity and the fact that they feel comfortable to do that is something I've always been so fascinated by and like sort of weirdly envied, but also not, and hated, but also just found super fascinating. And I think sort of similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Okay, let me just scan the rest of my thing. So, where is the original book? Do you have it with you?
I'm embarrassed to say it was purchased by someone. It's in a collection somewhere, and I'm forgetting exactly where at this moment. But I do have the second edition, one of the second editions.
Nice.
It's of 30, this one.
That's great. So let me take a minute then to share. Not only, this is how you can stay in touch with Sophia Zamosi. You can find her on Instagram at Sophia Zamosi and sophiazamosi.net. That's a very easy way to find you. And also, just for the sake of tonight, Booklyn also distributes this book, not the original, obviously, but the prints of them. So I push that to our homepage. And if you're interested in seeing images of the book, I assume that you can see them at sophiazamosi.net. You can also see them at Booklyn.org. It's right on the front page, along with another book that Sophia did that she showed in the slideshow. Why am I forgetting the name? The Me Too book, titled Me Too.
Me Too on Instagram 1 year later.
Thank you. Those were great. And if I may continue, again, I will watch the chat if anybody wants to interrupt me. I am open to it. Oh, we just got one. Awesome. Oh, so our friend Marshall Weber knows where that book is. It's at University of Wisconsin at Milwaukee.
Thank you.
So anybody listening, that's where you can find the original book. And I'm sure that's also searchable online. So, oh my goodness, what was I talking about before Marshall chimed in? Oh, right. So I often talk about you, Sophia, because you probably don't know this, but you were a real help in helping me understand as like the incoming new director, like what is Booklyn, and also not that I was necessarily ignorant of like what an artist book was, but I was so heavily steeped in zine culture and made zines and really heavily identified with like making zines at a certain price point for like specific people and using the methodologies that were limited to like a DIY sort of risograph way of producing. And that's something that you have a lot of experience doing. Like you are, as far as I know, have primarily been known as somebody who's like a zine maker. And a lot of your work is like archiving things that you see on social media with various lenses. And I've always thought that the work is very sophisticated. We also carry a lot of that stuff because it's great. But you sort of helped me understand that it's not like people are like zine makers and then they're like artist book makers. And so when I explain to other people what Booklyn does, I often use you as an example, as somebody who on the one hand has made or continues making a ton of like $6 zines that are really nice, really great, really quality, and they contribute something to the landscape of like zine making and like socio-political conversation and archiving. And then on the other hand, you have taken those zines and identified what they do functionally as an archival collection. You've produced your own box sets. You've painted the outside of the boxes to make them their own unique art object, and distributed them within the academic market, like as opposed to just a like general public zine fest. Mm-hmm. But then you've taken it a step further and you've produced books that are the, work of art, but also function as research material. And though that's true of a lot of people, you could argue I've seen you've kind of been the example that's helped me sort of see the whole process. And I think maybe that was because it took place in the time that I entered, Bookland's community. So I want to thank you for that.
That's cool. Thank you.
And I just kind of want to ask if you have any words for people watching or who will watch in the future, where can people find your work if they wanted to purchase it, if they wanted to see it? Are you making zines still? Are you doing other kinds of artwork manifestations that maybe we wouldn't have necessarily covered in this moment? And just how are you feeling about what you're working on now and in the foreseeable future?
Yes, I'm definitely still always making books and zines. And I mean, the graphic novel and the graphic memoir are extraordinarily time consuming. Like, those are the big projects that I'm working on, in addition to spending time with my baby, but also zines. And yeah, you can see it all on Bookland, your website, and my website. And yeah, I mean, I also love how my zines have morphed into artist books, and then they morph into graphic novels, and it's very cool to sort of see them changing and evolving and bleeding into each other.
Cool. Well, with that, I will say, let me check that. I think Marshall said one more thing. Oh, Marshall wanted to add too that University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee really loved the book, and that does not surprise me in any way. But that is great to hear nonetheless.
Very nice to hear.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sophia. Again, of course, thank you to everybody listening. It makes me so sad to say this, but please join us tomorrow for the final episode of my favorite book. We're going to be talking to Leopoldo Bloom, who's going to present, gosh, I didn't even write down the name of the book. It is a great book. It's I'm not even going to mess it up. I'm going to wait till tomorrow. I'll leave you in suspense. For more information about the whole program, my favorite book, or to watch all the other episodes, you can go to bookland.com or bookland.org. If you liked what you see tonight, please subscribe. I am really excited. I'm talking about changed values and kind of a changing way to engage with those values that may have pre-existed. And I love that I think we have 50 subscribers to YouTube. And in a different universe, I may have thought, oh, that's not enough. What is that? 50 people. And right here in this moment, I think 50 people is a beautiful number. And I love each and every one of them for tuning in, for subscribing. And 50 is enough. 50 is good. 50 is a lot of people, man. And I think it's like a great time in our lives to be like, yeah.
That's a reader.
Yeah. Sophia, do you have any closing thoughts?
No, just thank you so much. I'm so honored and grateful to be categorized with so many other really cool artists. And yeah, thank you so much.
The pleasure is ours. Thank you so much for everything that you do, Sophia. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And good night.
Good night.